I went to America thinking my degree was going to take me 4 years and cost me over $100,000. After arriving, I found ways that I could cut that in half. In this video, I'm going to explain the 4 main ways that allowed me to do this. The first way, CLEP exams and modern states. These two systems are actually separate bodies, but they coexist very nicely together. So I'm just going to talk about what I've done and how you can do the same. So the first point here is that when I arrived in the US, I realized very quickly that the classes were much easier than they were back in the UK, in sixth form and doing A-levels and GCSE. After doing some fishing around, I found CLEP exams. I saw that they were $97 each and you had to pay an administration fee of $20. I asked my school about it and my school was actually a testing centre, so I could do them there. And I started to look into what subjects I could do CLEP exams for. And they turned out to be very useful for my degree and very useful for every degree. So I started to look into how to do them and how to sign up for them and what subjects to do them for. That's where I found Modern States. Now, Modern States is basically a platform that's run by a billionaire philanthropist. It's completely free to sign up, no credit card details, no nothing. And you complete their course on their website and they give you a voucher and you can take the CLEP exam completely free, no risks. And really, when I found out about this, I genuinely thought it was too good to be true. Free credit, 1 exam, multiple choice. Coming from the UK, it was unheard of. So if you use Modern States with CLEP, that's what I'm going to be talking about here, not just CLEP by itself, which is still an incredibly good resource. So yeah, a couple of things. They're free, which, you know, it's incredible. You can do some exams in a few days, whereas you have to sit through classes for an entire semester, costing you so much more time and money. They don't have an impact on your GPA, so if you fail a CLEP exam, which I've actually failed one, then they don't impact on your GPA at all. It's not about the grade you get, it's a pass-fail system. So if you pass them, great, you get the credit for the subject. It just goes on your transcript as you pass the class. It doesn't take your GPA down if you get a C or a B. And actually, if you fail it, you can retake it in 3 months' time. You can get another Modern States voucher using the same process and it's completely free. Again, you can fail as many times as you want, no GPA impact. Where do you take them? You can either take them online or at a testing centre. My school was actually a testing centre, so I could just go down to the library and take them in one of the study rooms. But you could also do them online. There are a few caveats to this, like you have to do it on a Windows 10 computer, and there's a couple other things. I've never personally taken it online. However, I have read things that there are problems about it, like it takes ages and it's just much easier to do it in person. You can do it at any testing centre around. Luckily, as I said, my school was a testing centre, but there are testing centres all over the US at schools, individual ones, where you just go and take the exam, that's it. The exams are mostly all online. They're usually 90 multiple choice questions. You have about an hour and a half. And in my opinion, they're very easy compared to what we do back here in Europe and in the UK. Some of these exams I revised for a few days for and then passed. I'd never done the subjects before, like macroeconomics. I took science and maths for my A-levels, so I had never done these subjects before. I watched a few YouTube videos, did the Modern States course and passed them. And just to repeat, it's completely free. So what I did with the CLEP exams, in my first year of university, my freshman year, I did 9 exams over the 2 semesters, and that is equal to 27 credits. I'm just going to use $500 a credit, sometimes more expensive. Rarely it's cheaper than that. So with $500 a credit, that's $13,500 that I've saved in my first year just from doing CLEP exams. And that's 2 semesters. So that's the time and money that I've saved directly from CLEP and Modern States. So the second way is planning your own degree. At first, I thought the US system was going to be very similar to the UK or the same. Then I suddenly realised it's so different and it's a completely different system that you have to understand. I realised that you have to actually plan your degree yourself and you have to optimise everything for your own goals and your own needs, and your advisors help, but you have to do it all yourself. So these are just a few tips on how to plan your degree effectively to save time and money. And this does not mean you have to work way harder. This is just how to optimize your degree, not to how to do above and beyond and do it as fast as possible, spending the most money in the short amount of time. It's not like that at all. This is just about optimization and not wasting any time or wasting any money. So the first way is taking between 12 and 18 credits. It sometimes varies, like between 12 and 15 or 12 and 16. These are the same price. You're not allowed to go under 12 because that will make you athletically ineligible. And you're not allowed to go over 18 or else you have to pay more per credit, which as I said will be about $500. They give you the range between 12 and 18, and your advisors will probably stick you on 15, or maybe 14, or even 12. They'll never really stick you on 18 because they think that's overloading you. But for 2 semesters, I took 18 credits and it was completely fine. As long as you stay on top of things, you'll be completely okay. So seeing as these are the same price, I would always recommend taking the maximum amount of credits, or at least as close to that point as you can get that. So I've just put a little visual representation of this here. So if you were to take 18 credits for 8 semesters, which is the normal 4-year path, you would get 144 credits. And if you were to take 12 credits on the normal 4-year path, you would end up with 96 credits. Now, in order to graduate, you have to get around 128, maybe sometimes 120. So as you can see, you're already saving an entire semester, which can sometimes add up to $10,000 or even more, just by taking more credits every semester. But 48 credits, if we use the $500 calculation, is $24,000 you're saving just by taking the maximum credits instead of the minimum or closer to the minimum. So the next way is planning your degree yourself. So as I said, in the US, this is something that you have to get used to. This is a major difference between the US and the UK, for example, where in the US you have to take it into your own hands and you have to balance all of your classes and look at what you need to graduate and think about what you need to take which semester in order to optimize effectively and to make sure you meet all the graduation requirements and don't miss anything out. So advisors, they'll always just send you on the default path that's given out to them. You choose a major, say for example business, and they have a 4-year degree plan. They'll just schedule you for those classes then. In those 4 years for 8 semesters, maybe taking 12 to 15 credits a semester, then you'll fulfill all of the graduation requirements by the end of the 4 years and you'll graduate. But as I said, this is really ineffective and just not optimal whatsoever. And you'll end up just wasting tons of unnecessary time and money. So I would always advise people to plan degrees themselves, take their advisor's advice and go and say, look, I've made this degree plan, am I fulfilling all the requirements, that kind of thing, but really try to take it into your own hands. So the next thing is transfer credits. Now, this is going to take a little bit of background and explanation. In the US, transferring schools is very normal, and actually a lot of people end up transferring schools, whether that's for academic reasons or sport reasons or money reasons. People transfer schools really often. So this is another big reason that you need to plan your degree yourself, because only certain credits are transferable. Say your school is a religious school and it has certain religious classes for that specific school, and then you take those classes because that's what your advisor schedules you to do. You then move schools and the next school will not take this specific religious class because it doesn't apply to their system. So overall, the best thing to do is take the most transferable credits, especially in your first year or two, which your advisor will not advise you to do, but that's something that you have to schedule yourself for. And the last point is CLEPs. So obviously your advisor doesn't really want you to do CLEP exams that much because you're getting credit from external sources that isn't the school, so you aren't paying the school money, you aren't doing their classes, so they're not going to schedule this into your degree plan. So this is something that you've got to take into consideration yourself, and you've got to make sure that the classes that you're going to CLEP out of aren't directly in this semester or next semester or in your degree plan whatsoever. So again, here's my example. So originally you have the 4-year plan that at my first school was going to cost me around $84,000, and that's just sticker cost, that's just what the school was charging me. And then I actually created my own degree plan, which included CLEPs and all these strategies that I've mentioned. It was 2.5 years. It would only cost me $52,500 compared to the 84 that it was originally going to cost me. Actually, this is a much better situation and solution, and really you don't have to work that much harder for it. It's just about taking initiative and optimizing your degree. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is credit from previous education. So when I first arrived in America, I'd already done maths for my A-levels in the UK. I was interested, so I looked at the math syllabuses for the classes I had to take. Once I looked at the syllabuses, I realised that I'd already covered the content back in the UK. So then I went to go ask registrar, which is basically just like registration. It's just the office that deals with credits and your degree plan and all that stuff. What she basically told me is that she needs to look at my in-cred evaluation. Now, an in-cred evaluation is something that you will do before going to the US, which converts your education from your country into US terms. So I got my A-levels and my GCSEs converted into US terms for my GPA and what classes they counted for, but that was just using a platform called InCred, which costs a bit of money, but it's something they require you to do before going. She said she'll look at my InCred for me, and I said, okay. About a day later, she emailed me saying that she's got 24 credits that she can give me. And this was completely like, what, 24 credits? Like, where does it apply? What does it do? And she said, no, they're 4 credits towards science and then 20 open electives. I thought, what is an open elective? I didn't understand it initially, but you just kind of got to accept it's just credit that doesn't apply to anything at all. Anyway, regardless, I got those credits just by asking one question to registrar. The thing to note here is that if I didn't go and speak to them, they would have never given me this credit. And I'm sure a lot of people who come from the UK and go to America to go to university never get these credits that they actually deserve and that the university that they're at would actually give them for free. Just looking at numbers, I've got 24 credits, which is what my school gave me. These were from my A-levels. I took 3 A-levels, maths, physics and chemistry, but I know people who have taken BTEC business and other things, and they've all got 24 credits always. It's dependent on the school, but from my experience, most schools in the US are going to give you some sort of credit from your A-levels. This 24 credits is approximately equal to 1.5 semesters. So you're already cutting your degree from 4 years to 3 and a little bit years in credit terms. If we're taking that $500 a credit ballpoint, which as I said is like a mid-range credit point, which is a safe kind of evaluation, these credits alone are worth $12,000. It's pretty crazy. One question saves you $12,000. It's nuts. The fourth and final way that I save time and money in the US system is syllabuses. This might not make any sense, but I'm going to explain it. Syllabuses are basically just a list of the content that you cover within a subject. Best way to explain this one is to use a personal story. So I'm going to tell you a story about a statistics class that I thought I had to take because there was no CLEP exam for it. So I looked at the syllabus and I'd already covered the content and I thought, oh my gosh, there's no CLEP exam, so I couldn't do an external exam to get the credit, so I've just got to sit through this class that I've already done the content of back in the UK, which was really frustrating for me. So I went to go ask registrar, the office we talked about earlier, if there's anything that we could do about it. Registrar told me, yeah, it's actually a thing that we do in the US where you can provide syllabuses for your subjects from if you studied it somewhere else. You could provide the syllabus and then the head of the department can look at whether that content has already been covered and it fulfills the requirement, and then they just give you the credit for the class. In my situation, I got my A-level syllabuses just from online. It took me 5 minutes. I sent it to the head of maths at my school. A few days later, I got an email from the head of maths with the registrar office copied in saying Rex is eligible for the credit for this statistics class, STH 130, and he won't have to take it in the school. We're going to give him the credit for it. So this was obviously really good for me. It meant I didn't have to take the class and I didn't have to waste the time or the money and sit through it. But it also meant that I could replace that class with other classes, which meant I could accelerate my degree even more. And just optimize a bit more. And this all came from proactivity and asking questions, which is really what you need to do. These things didn't come automatically. Like, you have to ask questions and you have to know that they exist because we've been preconditioned from the UK to kind of just take the path that's laid out for you, but you actually need to take it into your own hands and do it yourself. So yeah, my personal experience here with this specific one, I got 3 credits, which is equivalent to 1 class, which with the $500 credit thing again is equivalent to $1,500. So that's a lot of money just by asking a question and just by taking a bit of initiative and going to the head of the department and saying, yeah, please, and that's what they gave me. So obviously after discovering these 4 systems, I completely changed my degree plan and it completely changed the way I look at American university. I'm now planning on graduating in 2.5 years and saving over $50,000 doing it. So if you're planning on studying in America, already at US college, or just want to understand a bit more about how the system actually works, then make sure to subscribe and stay tuned with the channel because I'm going to be posting many more videos just like this in the future, explaining everything that I wish I knew before starting my US degree. And if you want to learn exactly how I planned my degree, saved money, and structured everything in the US system, then I've put together a full resource called the US College Guide, where I break down everything into much more detail and tell you exactly how I got into the position that I'm in now. You can check out the US College Guide in the description below. Thank you very much for watching the US College Guide, and I'll see you in the next one.